Hey Ian, how are you?
Hi, Dawn. Good morning. Nice to see you.
I am so excited that the market is starting to come back with houses on the market. I don't know if do you have access to our MLS? Did you ever do you do that or no?
I don't have access to it.
Okay, I was just curious. I know some lenders do, but it's not that big of a deal if you don't. But so I look every morning now, and there are more houses coming up on the market on a regular basis. And there's so many open houses now that are happening. Um, and I don't know if it's just because the winter's over. I'm gonna say it's because the winter's over. Well, not winter's over, but the holidays are over. And that like people are starting to look now and get out there, and it's middle of February. So our unofficial spring market is usually right after the Super Bowl, which is the 11th, right? So, but it's
Yes.
starting to pick up more and more now with like open houses and everything. So um with that, I was thinking about the grant programs that we have.
Yes.
So for buyers who may need some extra help with down payment or closing cost. So um the grant, could you touch on a few of the grant program? So I know the one big one is the government PHFA grant, right?
Yeah.
Which is the K-Flex K-Fit, which is 5%. But is there any other grants that you have? Could you touch on some of the grants that might be out there that could help buyers with down payment assistance or close
Yes.
costs?
The biggest two, or the biggest one that you mentioned, is through PHFA, which is the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, and that allows buyers to get up to 5% of the purchase price as, we'll call it, grant funds. Grant funds. It's forgivable over a period of time, so they don't have to
Right,
repay back if they're in the house. I
right.
believe it's 10 years.
Yeah,
So on a $300,000 house, for example, you could get up to $15,000, which is huge. And
right,
there's different variations of the program. And when we're discussing your finances and your mortgage and pre-approval options, we can get into the specifics and determine if you qualify for that particular program. But those are probably the key two that I would look to first, for those who really need the grant funds.
right. Because that would be for can they have any down payment? Like, so I know a couple of the criterias for that program is a 680 credit score, and they have a yearly income allowance. And the other criteria was that they had to be, their debt to income ratio had to be a certain, or there was another criteria, right? Like besides the,
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. So there was two things. There's two versions of the program, and there's income caps associated with each one of those.
right,
So correct to your point. And then debt to income ratio, meaning and this is really for any mortgage, but PHFA or these grant programs have something very specific, meaning your debt can't, including the mortgage, can't exceed a certain percentage of your income. And that's just something we figure out very early on as part of the process. And the grants and awesome program is not necessarily for everyone. So somebody
right.
putting on 20% who has a lot of money wouldn't necessarily fit into this program, but that's one of those things that we're going to evaluate as part of the process. But it's huge. Allowed a lot of our buyers to get into a house where they otherwise not would not have been able to. So it's a really great program.
Is there a required down payment for it? Like, or a required down payment or a specific down payment, like amount that you have to be able to qualify for that grant. So like, because you had mentioned the 20%, like if somebody was coming in with 20%, they wouldn't really necessarily need the program. But is there a specific requirement, minimum requirement that is
Well,
needed for it?
yeah, really, it's a maximum. They have to put the minimum down in order to use this program. So, depending on where they go, it'll be either 3.5% or 5% down. They couldn't do 10% down and do this program. You have to be going with the minimum down. The idea is that you need these funds for the transaction.
Right. Okay. Makes
So
sense. Yeah. Well, yeah, it would make sense because if you're getting the grant, you might not have a lot of funds or have funds that you could do with a down, a closing cost. But if you use them and you don't have the grant, you could exhaust. And that's what I say to a lot of clients. So I have a client that and we're working with right now. And he's utilizing the grant program for the act because he had money, but he doesn't want to exhaust all of his savings. So he wants to be able to have money to like update the house, paint, whatever, do some things. So he's utilizing it. So, and he's a good candidate for it. So, just as a brief summary to go back, they need to have a 680 credit score. Their debt to income ratio has to be within the guidelines of PHFA, and they need to have a income limit threshold for what PHFA says you can't go over, and that's household income, not individual income. So that I do know. So, and then yeah, if anybody wants more information, they can reach out to us and see if that would be a good fit for them. They could work with you, do their application, and then if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, then you could adjust it at that point. I always tell my clients, like if you think that you have a credit score of like 660, but you need 20 extra points, do the pre-approval, see where you can get those 20 extra points, and then move forward with that and see if there's anything that can be done for that way because it's a great program, right? I mean, it really is.
absolutely. Yeah, and you're to
Yeah,
your point. We can help if the credit score is not quite where it needs to be, really for any program. We can figure out what we need to do to take those steps in the short term to increase the credit. In a lot of cases, it could be a very simple process doing so.
right. And real quick before we go, are the interest rates different?
Well, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about that with the new inventory coming on the market, and we're about 1% or more off our high interest rates from last year. So there is definitely positive sign. Just makes the homes more affordable for all of us. Yeah,
Right. Does PHFA have a different interest rate than a regular loan?
absolutely. The rates will vary depending on the program, but they are different than what you would see on other programs. In most cases, they're going to be a little bit lower.
Right.
But that's something we'll review as part of their options because there's different dynamics to the program.
Right.
Interest rate is part of it, but of course, down payment assistance is also part of it. So we want to
Right.
figure out what makes the most
Right.
sense.
Awesome.
Like,
Cool. That was really cool. That was really good to know. So if anybody is interested in learning more about the grant programs, just drop us a line or give us a quick holler, send me an email, send us an email or call or whatever, and we'll give you a little bit more information and kind of go over the background of it and let you know if potentially we think you might be able to qualify. And then, you could do your pre-approval work quick because it's very important you get that done first because also with PHFA, they have different guidelines when you go into a house. So I need to know what we're looking at before we go. So um, it's much better if you do that. So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir.
thank you.
Awesome. All right, I will talk to you later.
Take care. Bye
See
bye.
ya. Bye.